let me make this sound like you're right. You have a good offer, you have a good product, you even have awesome testimonials, and you have traffic going to the to the offer basically, right? You will pay for the copy. You probably need to copyright that good money, or use like use AI like ChatGPT, Cloud, or you probably got templates or like frameworks or structures from like a coaching program or your course that you're actually in, right? For some reason your conversions are still very, very low. You should be booking a lot more calls. Your closers aren't the best. You're getting into for people who are cold, and frankly a lot of it's like basically things are not going well with your funnel. And so you do what everyone actually says. You write the headline, you tweak the sub headline, you change the button color, you add more testimonial, you hire another copywriter, you buy another course or coaching program, and nothing changes. And the reason for that basically is because you're actually treating the symptom rather than the disease. And here's the real problem, right? The problem with your funnel is almost never the copy. It's not just the copy, because I've built and rebuilt funnels across like therapy, telemedicine, credit repair, fitness coaching companies, mindset coaching companies, in a lot of niches basically. And 90% of the cases, the copy was not the issue. I mean, like, it is the issue, but like what the main issue actually happens before anyone even sits down to write a single word of copy. And in this video, I'm going to show you one thing that almost no one does that actually changes everything. The exact process we actually use to build pages and funnels that convert like 10, 20, 25% close, even 30, 40% close rates, quite frankly. And these are cool traffic funnels I'm talking about, by the way. And I'm going to show you a real example on this screen right here, so you can actually see what I mean. So let's dive in. Now, real quick before that into it, to be a consultant or a service provider or even a coach doing at least $20,000 or more a year, your funnels not performing as well as it could be. You bid for these people, research, copy, design, literally every single thing done for you. It's good. First link in the description to hear about, but either way, what I'm about to show you right now will actually change how you think about this. So let's dive in. Now, here's what most people do when they actually want to build a funnel. They maybe go into research mode and they go to the Facebook ads library, or they even like, follow some other competitors and like check their funnels, their landing pages. They even like try to funnel hack them by seeing how their setter actually sets conversations. Or they use a template from a course that actually shows a proven framework or a proven, structure basically. And then they fill in the blank. Headline formula, check. VSL script, check. Structurally, it looks right, it feels right, and actually make you feel like you're doing something that's correct because it's a proven framework, right? Here's the problem, right? The structure is actually the last 10% of anything that converts, basically. And the first 90% is something most people skip entirely, It's basically understanding with rule specificity what is actually going on in the head of the person rather than the page, and not what you think is going on. Not what the template has used, but what is actually happening. And if you do not know that, your copy is basically a guess. An educated guess, yes, but it's still a guess. And guesses convert like 1, 2, 3%, by 70 converts at like 10, 20, 30% basically. Now here example of like templated funnel or templated research, something like that. Transform your life, could apply to any coaching in niche, like literally right now. Unlock your potential. You see a lot in this, like life coaching, manifestation coaching, but basically it's a generic language that means nothing to a specific avatar. It means nothing to any single person. Book a free discovery call. At this point, it's basically cliche. There's no specificity, no resonance or anything like that. But when we actually use things like research-driven funnels right now, it's talks about, a specific struggle that they're dealing with right now. And I'm going to show you an example, okay? What they already tried, so they actually understand their journeys and a language from real buyers. And that is the difference, right? This converts at 1 to 3%, and this converts at like, 10, 20%. Look at these two pages, right? As you can see over here, that says, it basically calls out specific avatar for business owners, CEOs, and executives. Serves well, finally stopping the root cause of the drinking habit. Former ESPN sports anchor videos, how you can escape the hangover and banish your brain fog for good, and regain the health and vitality you deserve using this 90-day quit drinking method. It's a proven 98% reduction in drinking. And now look at this headline, right? Break free from alcohol, step into the life you deserve. Now, I mean, like, you will tell me definitely like the difference between both of them, but here's the thing, right? This guy over here, like, actually know him, not like personally or something like that, but I think in September 2025, this guy did $1 million. Now, look at this headline. Basically, this headline is extremely specific. You know that this is actually coming from like real research, from something I'm going to show you later on in this video. Okay, I'm going to show you something later on in this video what this actually came from, real research. So here's what we actually do before even writing a single word of copy. Most funnel builders, coaches, and copywriters actually press one entirely, but that is kind of like, quite frankly, the most tedious and the most expensive one. Okay, the first is actually listen to sales calls, like generally listen to sales calls. The second is you actually validate against the markets, and finally you actually write. Now, 99% of them, 99% of funnel builders, like I said, they actually, they actually skip step one. Like, your copywriter has probably never even listened to your sales calls before. Now you actually need to get them to go listen to your sales calls, because like because on the calls, you can actually see what's the prospect is saying, how they look like when they're saying it's like the face, the body language, almost every single thing, the demeanor. They're actually saying a lot of this. Like, you can actually hear, and by the way, like, these are people that will end up buying or not buying from you basically. So you can actually hear the main issue, like you sort of like are in the markets, like free market research at that point. You're talking to actual people in the actual market, so you kind of like want to soak up as much as you can from these conversations basically. And now the average introvert, quite frankly, like, it doesn't 10x, right? We actually had a client that like I'm not joking, I actually had a 500% increase of that. I think that's perfect. But yeah, I had a 500% increase within 25 days of just starting list. When we actually started listening to sales calls and build funnels off of what his prospect said on the sales calls. Anyways, so first of all, listen to sales calls, get term calls that close, send that they didn't transcribe and extract every single thing, why they bought, the exact moment the buyer decided to say yes, the exact words, the language they used, and not your interpretation of it, but verbatim language that they actually used. Their fears, what held them back before they decided to act on it. What they tried, every failed solution that they came to you with, and then the headline is not something that you actually just brainstorm. You actually just brainstorm. It's something that the buyer already said, right? It's something that they already said on the sales call. Because when someone reads their thoughts on your page, you're like, okay, yeah, like I mean, imagine like you go to a doctor, right? And then you tell the doctor like, okay, your head's spinning, and like you actually also feel. Yeah, like if you actually also feel pain here, but you also feel pain, and if you actually feel pain in those places, like yes, and you feel like this doctor actually gets me, right? Even though like most doctors aren't like that nowadays, sadly. But at least, like the moment someone actually says that, you like, this guy actually gets me, like you're way more receptive to whatever prescription or whatever stuff that person actually tells you to do, right? Step 3 is actually where you actually validate, and then you basically right. So you don't just blindly trust what the people are saying on the sales calls, except obviously they give us our money, but we still validate against the rats. You actually is kind of like want to cross-reference it with what your competitors are doing, Reddit threads, Twitter threads, X threads, whatever. You get the point, right? Blogs, forums, all of that stuff basically. Now the thing is most fun is that they actually build with the owners of some assumption of what the markets want. They feel like, I have this good product, people must want it, but like not necessarily. People actually don't really shit most of the time. So they actually just care about what you can actually do for them. It's basically the typical what's in it for me principle. So we actually build the funnels on based on what the market is actually seeing, and that's why our funnels obviously always outperform our clients. So actually comment. But step 3 is basically writing, as at this point writing is almost easy. Like you literally have every single thing that you actually need. So to actually write with copy basically at this point. And so it's more of like the structure. Okay, your prospect actually thinks, okay, like I have this problem, so this person actually knows my problem, and then this person actually gets it. I will do this work and talk to them, and basically that leads to a cascade effect. When your funnel converts every single thing downstream, improves at once. One fix or cascades through the entire business, or you probably are getting a lot of organic leads, and then you stop posting them. Basically your prospect calls if you're running ads, but your prospects actually arrive peaceful. Like you actually have a lot warmer calls. You actually enjoy your calls when you like, well, really warm. Your closure is climbed, and yeah, basically that's it. So yeah, I own Arcavoy, and we actually build complete funnel systems from a source call data. So not just the copy, the actual full view. We do research from the source call analysis and market validation. We do the copy design. We take email behavioral automations, almost every single emails. Trigger immediately. If you do it for coaches, therapists, fitness brand, consultants, financial coaches, almost every single person visit. So just click the link in the description. If your funnel isn't converting, or you feel like you actually want to get more of us, more return on your ad spend, or you just want to convert more clients, basically it's actually what happens after emails, pre-call emails, the nurture, the pre-copy, and that's really that revenue happens or die. So now stay tuned for my next video.